Welcome, I am Kavya M. Gowda. I would be explaining one of the project planning and management tools, that is the Pert chart. A Pert chart is a graphical representation of project schedule showing the sequence of tasks that can be performed simultaneously and the critical path of tasks that must be completed on time in order for the project to meet its complete deadline. The chart can be constructed with a variety of attributes such as earliest and latest start dates for each task, earliest and latest finish dates for each task, and slack time between tasks. A Pert chart can document an entire project or a key phase of a project. It can also organize tasks, establish time frames, illustrate dependencies, and the steps to a specific goal. It schedules tasks based on the information given by the user. It uses the project start date, project finish date when scheduling the project. In order to construct the Pert chart, we need to install the Pert chart expert in our system. Before constructing the Pert chart, we need to collect the basic information of our project, like the number of tasks that needs to be executed and their order, etc. Here in our example of buying a car, I would consider the 4 tasks that are listed below. The first task is select brand and model. This task would require a duration of 1 day to complete its task. The second task is check online stores. The second task would require the duration of 2 days. The third task is check local outlets. The duration of the third task would be 5 days. Fourth task is select retailer. Select retailer task would require a duration of 1 day. After collecting the basic data, we need to organize the data. That is, we need to select which task must be executed first and which are the other subsequent tasks that must be executed after the completion of the first task, and importantly, which are the tasks that can be executed simultaneously and the order of the tasks that need to be executed, and also the duration of each task. After organizing the data, we are ready to construct the Pert chart. To construct the Pert chart, let us first construct the first task. The first task can be constructed by going to Edit in the menu bar and clicking on Insert Task. On clicking the Insert Task, we get a task box. Here we can add the information of our task 1, like name of the task, that is select brand and model, the duration. The duration is the amount of time it takes to complete the task. It can be returned in minutes, hours, days, weeks, months or years. For minutes, we need to append the digit with M. For hours it is H, for days it is D, for weeks it is W, for months it is MO, and for years it is Y. In our example, I would consider the duration of first task as 1 day, that is 1D. Work represents the number of hours per day, that is 8 hours. The start date represents the start date of the task, and the cost will be the amount required to execute the task. The constraint type depends on the constraint date. The constraint type are as soon as possible, as late as possible, finish no earlier than, finish no later than, must finish on, etc. As soon as possible refers that the task must be completed as soon as possible with respect to the constraint date. As late as possible refers that the task must be completed with respect to the constraint date. Must finish on refers that the task must be finished on the constraint date. Must start on refers that the task must be started on the constraint date. Start no earlier than refers that the task must not start earlier than the constraint date. and start no later than represent that the start must not be executed later than the constraint date, etc. In our example, I would choose as soon as possible. The WBS indicates the task ID. On clicking OK, the first task information will be modified. Now we are constructing the second task. As we know the order of the execution, the second task is mainly dependent on the completion of the first task. Hence, the dependency is from the first task to the second task. Now we are entering the information of the second task. The name of the second task is check online stores. The duration I would consider as 2 days. Work hours are as 8 hours. And on clicking OK, the second task information is modified. Since we know that second and third task can be constructed simultaneously, the dependency of the third task is originated from the first task. The name of the third task is check local outlets. The duration I would consider as 5 days, and on clicking OK, the information of third task is modified. Now let us construct the fourth task, that is select retailer. The name of the fourth task is select retailer, and the duration I would consider is 1 day. On clicking OK, the information of the fourth task is also complete. Now we can see the lines from different task boxes. These lines represent the relationship between the tasks, specifying that one task cannot start or finish until the other task has started or finished. These are called dependency lines. In our example, the task 2 cannot be started until the completion of the task 1, and task 4 cannot be started until the completion of task 2 and task 3. And we can see red boxes and blue boxes. The red box and lines indicate that they are the critical path. The critical path identifies tasks which must be completed on time for the whole project to be completed on time. In order to see the critical path, go to Tools, click on Trace and select critical path only. We can see the critical path of our example. Critical path also identifies which task can be delayed if resource needs to be reallocated, and Pert chart is primarily a project management tool. A Pert chart is most useful for planning and tracking entire project, or for scheduling and tracking the implementation phase of a planning or improvement effort. Thank you.